I think a combination of the mineral deal, a European plan on how to move forward and secure some, I guess, peacekeeping type of operation. I think a no-fly zone is essential. What I fear, though, is we can have a lot of the good ideas. And I think the Europeans are doing a good job now coming together and trying to figure out some solutions. But if Russia doesn't cooperate, then all of that is for naught. And I think we're in such an early stage that no one has come to the realization that Putin is not going to play no matter what kind of a deal we put out there unless he gets everything he's taken and probably more.
It is Kate Borsay. It is the evening edition on Times Radio. Thank you so much for being with us. We're going to get reaction from the US to Donald Trump's latest warning to Ukraine. You'll hear from Donald Trump on this show in just a few moments' time, hot off the press, speaking at the White House at the moment. Plus, as Israel blocks all humanitarian aid into the Gaza Strip, we'll hear from UNICEF in southern Gaza. And of course, we've got a sneak peek inside tomorrow's Times as well. All that to come, some stellar guests on the way. Let's go to Donald Trump then, speaking at the White House just now, just a few moments ago. He was asked about ongoing support for Ukraine.
We've given them much more than Europe, and Europe should have given more than us, because as you know, that's right there, that's the border. This country really was like the fence on the border. It was very important to Europe, and I'm not knocking Europe. I'm saying that they were a lot smarter than Joe Biden, because Joe Biden didn't have a clue. He just gave money hand over fist, and they should have been able to equalize with us. In other words, if we gave $1, they should have given. Well, we gave $350 billion. They probably gave $100, but on top of it all, they get their money back because they're doing it in the form of a loan, and it's a secured loan. So when I saw that, which I've known about for a little while, I said it's time for us to be smart. At the same time, it's great for them because they get us in the country taking the rare earth, which is going to fuel this big engine, and especially the engine that we've in a very short time created. And we get something, and we're there. We have a presence there. With all of that being said, I want one thing to happen. I want all of those young people to stop being killed. They're being killed by the thousands every single week. Last week, 2,700 were killed. 2,700 young, in this case, just about all young boys from Ukraine and from Russia. And that's not young people from the United States, but it's on a human basis. I want to see it stop.
That was Donald Trump speaking just a few moments ago. We'll dig in to that and more with our next guest now, who is a former Nebraska state senator, Tom Brewer, also chair of the Government, Military and Veterans Affairs Committee. Welcome back to Times Radio, Tom. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Kate.
We know that Donald Trump has lashed out against Volodymyr Zelensky already today in a post on Truth Social. He accuses the Ukraine president of not wanting peace as long as he has America's backing. He has also just said, when taking questions from reporters at the White House as he announces this big semiconductor deal for the United States, that Zelensky should be more appreciative. What do you make of that?
Well, Friday was a bad day in many ways. I mean, the only one that really prospered out of Friday's press conference was the Russians. Unfortunately, there's probably plenty of blame to go around, but Zelensky, as hard as it might be, needs to come out and do a public apology and get things back on track, because there's just too much to lose if the deal falls through on the mineral rights, and that's really critical to a lot of the pieces coming together. So, I wish it didn't have to come to this, but I think that in order to get things back on track, that's what's going to have to happen.
Yeah, look, Donald Trump's also said, I don't think the minerals deal is dead. Of course, Zelensky left the White House after that showdown with Donald Trump. Just extraordinary scenes. I don't think any of us have really seen the likes of that before. A complete meltdown, really, of relations. Zelensky left the White House early, as we know, without signing a minerals deal. And Keir Starmer and European nations have stepped in to try and rejuvenate that somewhat. I know we heard yesterday that Keir Starmer believes that a minerals deal may be ready soon. He doesn't think that's enough of a security guarantee. So here is where our Prime Minister, who's tried to remain on the side of Zelensky and Donald Trump so carefully, he's done it really, really well, actually, to be fair. But we've heard from Keir Starmer today that that minerals deal alone is not enough of a security guarantee for Ukraine. Would you agree with that, Tom Brewer?
I would. I think that, we're at a point now because of some of the emotion. And if you could kind of see what's happening in America, there were those who saw the press conference on Friday and all of a sudden swung hard against Ukraine. And that number isn't great, but it's more than was before, because just like pretty much everywhere in Europe, when the war started, there was tremendous support, and there has been continued support, but that has really has hurt in many ways the open support that the Ukraine had. So I think a combination of the mineral deal, a European plan on how to move forward and secure some, I guess, peacekeeping type of operation. I think a no-fly zone is essential. What I fear, though, is we can have a lot of the good ideas. And I think the Europeans are doing a good job now coming together and trying to figure out some solutions. But if Russia doesn't cooperate, then all of that is for naught. And I think we're in such an early stage that no one has come to the realization that Putin is not going to play no matter what kind of a deal we put out there, unless he gets everything he's taken and probably more.
Yeah, that is the one person who's not really part of these discussions as we talk about Donald Trump, President Zelensky, Keir Starmer's response. Donald Trump this evening, just speaking now to reporters at the White House, has said Europe's acted very well. They're good people, he told reporters. It said he's spoken to 4 prime ministers and 5 presidents from Europe in recent days. I know most of them, he says, they're friends of mine, the heads of state, the heads of the various countries. They want to get it worked out. And there are plans afoot, not just for this coalition of the willing, troops on the ground from European countries and maybe beyond. We're also talking about possibly countries like Australia and Canada being involved in that potentially. So not just that, but actually Keir Starmer's working on a peace deal with Emmanuel Macron and other nations of his own. I'm going to take a clip of Stephen Swinford, our political editor, who we heard from at the beginning of the show, and he gave details of this 2-step plan. It's for a potential ceasefire, but it's basically Europe trying to broker their own peace deal or a path towards a peace deal. Let's just listen to what Stephen Swinford said, and then I'd love your comments on it, Tom.
So the first phase would be a ceasefire, which would be at sea and in the air. And that would essentially be, because it's really hard to monitor a ceasefire on the ground, a stray bullet can end a ceasefire in an instant. Whereas if it's in the air and at sea, that's relatively straightforward to monitor. So that would be a test of faith on whether Putin is going to transgress and break that ceasefire. If that's successful over a period which is still being discussed, then they would move to putting troops in Ukraine under their plan.
OK, so this is how some of that peace deal would work. And you would be supportive of that, Tom Brewer. That is something Europe can do without, we know that they still want some sort of air cover, some sort of security guarantee from the United States. Keir Starmer says just a separate minerals deal is not going to provide enough. What do you think of that plan from Keir Starmer, and what should American support look like?
Well, I think it's a combination of a couple of things. One is if you're going to make a ceasefire work, I think you have to probably hold that $300 billion that's the Russian money that's been held or seized, however that's termed. But that has to be a consequence if they break it. There has to be something that will keep Putin focused on doing the right thing. Will he? I still personally don't believe he will. But as far as the ability to have a no-fly zone, I believe the Americans have to somehow be involved in that, whether it be the use of their AWACS systems, their advanced radars, the satellites, all of the things that could control and prevent a situation from getting out of control, they have in their possession, where Europe is kind of a collage of different systems that would make it very difficult for any one country or to mix them and still be as effective. It doesn't mean that the United States needs to be on the front lines with their fighters, but they have assets that would be invaluable to NATO in their ability to monitor that border region and make sure that there's no violations.
Certainly. Is there anything more that European nations, or indeed Keir Starmer, who seems to be one of the headline brokers from European countries, is there anything more that you want to see from them? Anything they're not doing? Anything that may appease Donald Trump further?
Well, I think the last few days have been very refreshing. The Americans have noticed that there's been an ownership, a visionary kind of process that they've gone through, and I think it's a point where we need to just let it continue to mature, but also be a part of it and helping to advise and coach and work through some of the difficult pieces of this, and maybe we need to fill some of those voids where we don't have a European asset that can complete this package so that we're able to do what we need to do. So I just think that for the first time in the 3 years that Europe is coming together as a team to put together a solution, and that's refreshing, I think, in the eyes of everybody.
Look, thanks for being with us. Really appreciate it. Former Nebraska State Senator Tom Brewer, also chair of the Government Military and Veteran Affairs Committee. Good to speak to you again, Tom. Thank you. This is Kate Borsay. It is the evening edition on Times Radio. Thanks for being with us.